Carving 3 chisels. This is being filmed about half an hour after I thought I'd finished filming my video about stones, which you are currently watching. In that video I said some things that may or may not have been ever so slightly bigoted and narrow-minded about oil stones, and I need to formally apologize to those oil stones because I was wrong. Alright, there we go. Apologies made. Okay, basically, I heard myself saying those things because I was standing there when I said them. And the whole reason I'm doing this series of videos is because I made some assumptions based on what I was taught, and in particular about herding guides. And what I was taught about oil stones was that they were only fit for scrapers, if that. Now, I do have a very nice Arkansas oil stone. I think it's about 1200 grit. And, well, I heard myself talking and I said, you know what, let me just try and use this Arkansas stone on a chisel. And I absolutely love it. So, you know, it got, with the help of a strop, it got this chisel in one shot, very sharp, in a very, very short time frame. It's harder. If you get a good oil stone, it is amazing. And that's all I need to say about that. Welcome to Crimson Guitars and the third video in our Sharpening Masterclass series. I am Ben Crow, luthier in charge. I feel megalomaniacal. Megalomaniacal. I feel megalomaniacal. I can't say that. Carving Masterclass. No, Sharpening Masterclass. I'm having a good night. In this episode, I am going to take this fantastic, actually they are really cool, this is an Ashley Isles chisel that I lent to one of my luthiers, Jamie. Now Jamie recently moved down to this part of the world, and something has changed, and this poor man, the second he touches a chisel or anything made out of metal, even brass, he corrodes it. And I'm not sure if he's just eating, you know, fish fingers dipped in vinegar or what, because he's lonely and he's just moved here. But whatever it is, something is seeping out of this poor man's skin and corroding my tools. So he's gone and bought his own set of brand new Ashley Isles chisels. They arrived a month ago and they look 20 years old. But he's not allowed to touch mine. Anyhow, this thing is now blunt. Somebody else has used it. And I am going to show you many different methods for sharpening it. I am going to go from using a belt-driven system to a water wheel. And then we're going to move on to water stones and diamond stones and even oil stones, just so that I can show you what they do. I am even going to use a bench grinder. And if that sounds scary, it is scary. I'm even going to use a bench grinder because one of my luthiers, Tom, he swears by it, and he carves a hollow grind into his chisel. I'm going to use that. In fact, I'm probably going to sharpen 3 or 4 different chisels, 3 or 4 different ways, and I'm going to show you each different method. So bear with me. I promise not to digress too much. On to the power tools. Might as well start there. This is, to my mind, the most sacrilegious option imaginable. I am going to use this little 5-inch bench grinder. It belongs to luthier Tom, and he actually does this on the floor behind his bench and sort of hides away from me. And I'll hear the machine start up and I'll go, oh my goodness, Tom's doing that grindy thing with his chisels again. And it just feels naughty. But it is undeniably effective. Now, he's got this little bit of wood that he's put at the right angle for his chisels, which I will measure afterwards and see what angle he gets to, because I'm sneaky that way. He's not here, by the way, he doesn't know I'm borrowing this. But before I do that, I'm actually going to get some goggles, despite the fact that it's got this. And I'm also going to get some water to dip my chisel in, because this is going to get hot. Now, this is not the Ashley Isles chisel, this is another one. And this chisel has been sharpened by somebody else, I think. And you might be able to see, it doesn't actually have a bevel angle at all. It rocks over. And that is just sacrilegious as far as I'm concerned. And those of you who watch a certain well-known YouTuber who likes sharpening his chisels like that are going to shout at me for saying that. But anyway, I think you need... yeah, anyhow. Okay, I'm going to go get some goggles and be back in a sec. So this is an old... I don't know what kind of chisel, but it's been destroyed, it's blunt and pitted and nasty. I have water, I have goggles on. Now, yeah, this old grinder, let's see how it goes. Isn't that pretty? So the trick is to not let this burn. Now in this case what I'm doing is I'm taking something that's got the wrong angle, massively the wrong angle, and putting the right angle on it. And I cannot let this grinder go too fast. I can't let it burn the steel, because then I would lose my edge. So I'm dipping it in water, and when as soon as the water that's on the tip sort of boils away, I'm dipping it in water again. Which happens to be very rapid. Now, if your tool starts going blue, it means that you've lost the hardening and tempering that the chisel makers put into the tool, and it won't keep its edge. Okay, now I'm going to keep on doing this. It's going to take me quite a while. To get this angle right, and then we'll go from there. And you have to keep it straight so that you get a nice square at the end. There we go. Now I am going to take this chisel that is mostly at the right angle, and I'm going to use my oil stone. This is something that I previously thought was absolutely useless and only good for doing scrapers, because that's what my old master taught me. And frankly, I now think my old master was full of shit a lot of the time. Please forgive the language. Okay, last night I just had a quick check to see if he was right or not. It would cost me about £50 new. It's a good quality, naturally occurring oil stone. And do you know what? It's actually really, really, really nice. Now, what we have here is a relief ground bevel. It's got a curve in it. And the reason for doing this is, I must say, not my favorite method of sharpening in the slightest. This is what one of my luthiers, Tom, likes. But, however, the reason for doing it this way is that it's much easier to locate where the flat is. Holding it down when it's got that round in it means that I'm resting it on the top edge there, and then I move forward until it's resting on the front edge, and I know that when I move forward on my stone, I am absolutely properly located at the correct angle. And it's much easier to keep that angle. And the other thing is, I need some tissue now. The other thing is that instead of polishing the whole surface, that whole area, I'm just polishing the front and the back. And of course the front is where we want to polish. Now, sharpening 101. Sharpening is where two perfectly polished surfaces meet at an angle. If they're both polished and they meet, then you end up with a sharp tool. Now, so far what we've been doing is working on the front edge. The back of here is still pit marked and not perfect. Now, what I'm going to do is, well, first of all, I've just put a little bit of a bevel. I flattened that, and I've got a burr coming up on the end, on the flat side. So go along and flatten the back. Now, this oil stone, I've just gone upstairs, and on one of my surfacing plates I have flattened it again. Oil stones stay flat, or natural ones at least, stay flat for longer, which is a good thing. There we go. If I was trying to polish that whole surface on a waterstone, I would have been doing that for a little bit longer before I came up with a burr on this end. Now, the very basics of sharpening: polish and polish, and you will turn a burr over by polishing that side, and then you turn the burr over by polishing that side. Every single time you break the burr or turn the burr over, you're making that front edge just a little bit sharper. And this is the case whatever sharpening method you're using. And you're going to hear me say it again and again and again. So, using that easy to locate point, I'm just turning over and over and over. Now, with this particular oil stone, I don't know what the grit is. I do know, however, that it's surprisingly, this is very hard, but it's actually also cutting really well. And I'm slightly annoyed that I haven't used it for this purpose before. I've had it for 15 years or so. This has actually taken me a little bit longer than I had hoped to flatten this back area. I don't know the grit of this stone, and I do need a slightly coarser oil stone in order to make it quicker. However, this has come up with a polish similar to my 1200 grit water stone. The theory behind this is we're flattening one side beautifully, we're turning it over, turning a burr, and because we've got the hollow grind there, it's easier to locate where we are. Now, I've been using a an oil stone, and the problem I have with oil stones is the oil, frankly. This is actually the Crimson Guitars fretboard restorative, which is a blend of nice, healthy, good for you oils, and it's acting as a lubricant. But it also seems to get in the way a little bit. It's a weird feeling. However, if I had 2 or 3 grades of oilstone, I think I could do this as fast or faster than my waterstones, and they stay flatter for longer. Problem is, I want to flatten this now, and I don't have anything to flatten it with easily because it's full of oil. And also, I'm now covered in oil, and so is my chisel. And the last thing you want is an oily tool when you're working on fine, white, lovely flame maple or something similar. Anyway, so you can see we're nice and shiny there. We're nice and shiny at the edge where we want to be. And all I'm going to do now is pull it back a few times. And what this is doing is pulling the burr that way instead of moving backwards and forwards. And I'm going to do the same on here. And that should mean I don't have a burr on either side. There we go. This should be, judging from this stone, creditably sharp. Let's see where the intonation point. Haha, guitar builder. That should be, yes, that's pretty damn sharp. What I am going to do, though, is get a leather strop out and use that with some honing compound. Now, the honing compound is a, well, polishing soap or paste, and this has a grit in it. Where are we? There. So I'm just pulling with the grain of the leather, and that is polishing this chisel up to a mirror shine. And you just have to do this a couple of times. So what I've discovered is that this wonderful oilstone that I've had for years, on its own it is capable of taking a chisel from not sharp at all, i.e. off an actual grinding wheel, to very, very, very sharp. So using that one stone and a bench grinder, I've managed to hollow grind a rough chisel that was absolutely useless, flatten it back, and then go onto my strop. And I have got something that is really sharp. It shaves, it cuts. If I was holding the paper properly, it cuts the paper quite easily. Watch my fingers. This is, well, as you can see in the camera there, shiny and sharp. So once again, a sharp tool is an intersection at an angle of 2 polished surfaces. The higher the polish, the sharper the tool. It is absolutely essential you get that. And this has been video 1 of looking at chisels, the hollow grind. In the next video, I'm going to use the Sorby Pro Edge belt grinder to sharpen a chisel, and well, we'll look at the pros and cons of that. The pros and cons of using an oil stone are it's dirty, there's oil, I don't like it very much. However, the pros are they stay flatter for longer. I'm going to have to get other oil stones with which to flatten this one. It is essential that you keep your stones flat, and I think that it's also essential that you've got a nice range of grits. You need a medium, sort of an 800 grit, and then a 1200, and then I go to a fine 4,000 or 6,000, at least on the waterstones. In this case, I don't know what this particular grade of oilstone is. I bought it at a car boot sale or something, but it is a natural stone and it's beautiful. And then the leather strop, which we're going to look at in more detail later. Thanks for watching. If this has been useful to you in the slightest, please click like, please click subscribe. We've got a whole series of sharpening videos coming up over the coming weeks. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.